Welcome to Mickey, Marvel, and More, Disney news, commentary, and opinion. From theme parks to Thanos and from Skywalker to Skyliner, my family and I will discuss it all. So let's go.
Please stand clear of the doors. Por favor, manténganse alejado de las puertas.
Hello, Mark here, and welcome to another episode of Mickey, Marvel, and More. Thank you so much for joining us. If you're a longtime listener, thanks for coming back. If it's your first time here, welcome, and where have you been? No matter which of these two groups you're from, let's all step out of the crazy real world and spend a few minutes talking about all things Disney. In today's family chat, I'll be joined by two special guests, Laura and direct from his hidden bunker, Zachary. We're going to sit down around the virtual table and talk about a little obsession of ours, Disney tier lists. What are tier lists, you say? Well, stick around and we'll tell you all about it. But first, how about a little news from in and around the Disneyverse?
Batman is playing Galaga. Thought we wouldn't notice, but we did.
First up today, we've got a bit of a weird and scary story. A former Disney World employee is accused of hacking the company's servers to change menus, including adding false peanut allergy information, just when you think all the crazy crimes have already been thought of. According to a federal complaint, Michael Schur falsely claimed certain foods as peanut-free, changed prices, and added profane language. Schur was a menu production manager for Disney, and he was fired in June for misconduct. He was also accused of using a bot to attempt over 100,000 logins to at least 14 different Disney employee accounts, effectively locking them out of their accounts. The FBI also has a photo of Schur going up to the home of a Disney employee that he allegedly targeted during these cyber attacks. Schur's lawyer says he has a mental health disability that caused a panic attack at work that led to his termination. The complaint says that the cyber attack that lasted over 3 months and caused Disney's menu creator system to be down for 2 weeks cost Disney at least $150,000. The good news is, at the end of the day, no one was hurt from the menu hacks or the stalking. And this is also the first crime that I have ever seen that involved someone using the Wingdings fonts. Beware, the Wingdings have been weaponized. What are those Wingding fonts even for? I'm not really sure how Schur thought he was really going to get away with this.
Voila! Oh, you look so
stupid.
Disney Animation has very high hopes for Moana 2. According to industry experts, Moana 2 is on track for a record-breaking $135 million Thanksgiving opening weekend. That would put it above Frozen and Frozen 2 to become the top Thanksgiving earner of all time. The sequel opens on Wednesday, November 27th. The long holiday weekend is historically a big money-making time of the year for moviegoing. But if Moana 2 is going to become the record breaker, it's got some pretty stiff competition that weekend. Because Gladiator 2, the movie that nobody asked for, and Universal's big musical spectacular Wicked are being released on November 22nd, giving both of the films a bit of a jump on Moana 2. The early release of these two pictures makes you believe that the film companies were a little afraid of opening on the same weekend as Disney's Moana 2. But all of this is welcome news for the movie theater industry that has been struggling of late. AMC Theaters chief Adam Aaron said that Moana 2 could be bigger than Disney Pixar's Inside Out 2. I can't wait to see how all this shakes out. One thing's for sure, our family will be spending a lot of time at movie theaters over the Thanksgiving holiday weekend.
Hey, we don't serve their kind here.
What?
Your droids. They'll have to wait outside. We don't want them here.
Finally today comes a bit of information that's sure to become a great question for Star Wars trivia contests. No matter what your feelings are on Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, I think we can all agree that the casting of Ewan McGregor as young Obi-Wan Kenobi was brilliant. But apparently it could have been completely different. In a recent interview with Star Wars concept and storyboard artist Ian McCaig, who at the time was being interviewed to mark the 25th anniversary of The Phantom Menace, dropped a bit of a bombshell. According to McKay, George Lucas was originally planning for a big twist at the end of the movie. McGregor's Obi-Wan Kenobi and Liam Neeson's Qui-Gon Jinn were originally swapped, meaning Neeson was playing the real Obi-Wan, and thus Obi-Wan died. Then, after Qui-Gon defeats Darth Maul, he honors his fallen master by not only choosing to train young Anakin, but also takes on his name. At first, I wasn't sure how I thought about this potential change, but the more I thought about it, it would have been a very George Lucas-y thing to do. Lucas has always been very big about bringing things back around and repeating themes. So if this change were to have been put in place, it would have given a little more weight to Kenobi's line in A New Hope when he says, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Obi-Wan. Now that's a name that I've not heard for a long time. Because at that time in the Star Wars universe, he was going by the name Ben Kenobi. Either way, it really wouldn't have made too much difference in the overall story, but it might have been a cool way to tie in that old line from A New Hope. But no matter what, this guy here, yeah, he's ready for the next Star Wars trivia contest.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are approaching our station at the entrance to Main Street, USA, gateway to the 7 theme lands of the Magic Kingdom.
What's your favorite Disney theme park show or attraction? What's your favorite Disney ride queue? What's your favorite Walt Disney World trash can? Well, we're here today in the family chat to tell you how to turn all those questions into a fun family activity to do on those long drives to and from Walt Disney World or Disneyland with a little something called tier lists. To help break it down today, I'm going to bring in the 2 members of this family who were there for our original family road trip to Walt Disney World way back in 2001. First up, frequent guest to the show, my wife Laura. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Next up, from our Echo Base studios somewhere in Chicago in an undisclosed bunker, I want to introduce the family member that was the smallest back in 2001 and is now taller than everybody else, Zachary.
I must let it be known that as a 1-year-old, I was not making tier lists.
No, you weren't making tier lists. You were just making dirty diapers. We've done a lot of car activities over the years, traveling as a family, and this activity is something that we started in recent years and has become sort of a new family favorite, Disney tier lists. But before we dive into some of our tier list selections, let's have Zach explain exactly what a tier list is and how they work, because if I remember correctly, Zach is the one who brought tier lists to our attention, and he's been our tier list master ever since. So Zach, what is a tier list and how exactly does it work?
I bet you weren't expecting a history lesson on today's episode of Mickey, Marvel, and More.
History.
So tier lists are something that have existed within the gaming sphere for quite a while. In particular, tier lists would be used for a lot of fighting video games, something like a Super Smash Brothers or Mortal Kombat or something, as a way to say this character is better than another one. It's a ranking system, a way of sort of pitting things against each other. And then over the pandemic, I want to say, the concepts of tier lists made their way much more into the public consciousness as a way for people to engage in, let's rank whatever we want. So a tier list in and of itself is on a scale typically of S to F. S being top tier, followed by A, B, C, D. Usually skip E and go straight to F because it's just that bad if something is an F tier.
So I kind of get the grading scale on the A through F, but what does S actually stand for? Superior?
Not entirely sure. I think it is supposed to be like superior, because, you know, everything else is in alphabetical order that's kind of descending. But if you put S above A, it's just that good, I guess.
Well, I've also heard there's an extra tier sometimes they use called S plus.
Yeah, tier lists can be very malleable. What I described is the typical basic kind of tier list that you get. It's a way of visually representing if you think something is better than something else.
Yeah, and that's a big part of this. It's not just you're doing a top 10 list of something. This is a list that's done visually with graphics. So it's, it's not just a written list. It's something you can look at and actually see the items you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. And for our purposes, we like to rank and pit various Disney theme park related things against one another.
Yeah, and on each tier, it's not just one thing. So on each tier, you can have as many things as you want under S, A, B, C, D, E, or F. But within that tier, you put them in a order of ranking as well.
Yeah, I will say not everyone does that, but we like to get into the nitty gritty of it and make it much more difficult for ourselves when engaging in a discussion of what's better than something else.
Well, that's what makes it a lot of fun, though, because it takes up a lot of time during a car drive to really debate these things. And believe me, we get down in the weeds when it comes to trying to pick our favorite choices.
So I think it might help our listeners to maybe give an example of how this process works. And I guess I'd like to start maybe at the very beginning of how we gather our information for a tier list, because I think that's part of the fun too.
Oh, it is.
So whatever category it is that we've decided that we're going to rank in a tier list for a particular trip, over the course of that trip, we will take pictures of the items that we're going to be ranking later on our phones and put them into some kind of a shared folder. And, you're doing that over the course of your trip, and it really almost becomes a scavenger hunt.
Oh, for sure.
Depending on what item it is or category of things that you are looking to rank, as you're walking through the parks, it's kind of fun to say, oh, hey, there's a whatever it is that we're ranking. We need to get a picture of that one. Or, wow, there's one over there that I didn't even realize was something different. So it's kind of fun to collect those pictures as you're going through the park with an idea that when you have the long, boring car ride home, you're going to use all that information and put it into a tier list.
Yeah, that's exactly how we do it. And most of the time, it is something we do on the way home because we do spend a lot of the trip gathering this information to put together. Occasionally, we'll have things that we do beforehand, like a tier list that Zach would have done in advance. But he still puts a lot of this together, and he's the one that operates the tablet that he will give us all of the choices, and then we start debating and picking. Mm-hmm. Let's do an example of one of the tier lists that we did recently. It is the Walt Disney World attractions list. And you want to talk about a topic that kept us going for several hours? We had a lot to go through because Zach had made a detailed list of all of the attractions. And we also had to specify, does an attraction count as a show? We didn't count fireworks in this either, did we? It was all just...
No parades, no nighttime spectaculars, just rides and shows.
Okay. So let's give an example of sort of a middle of this list so you kind of see where we're coming from here. So if you go to, I guess the middle on this would be B then, right?
B and C.
B and C. So in the middle,
that's what you would consider. B and C is what you would consider like mid-tier,
right?
Like kind of average.
So bottom of B, top of C is going to be the middle of the list,
right? So I'm going to go to the bottom of B on our list, and we put Winnie the Pooh at the bottom of B, top of C. So that gives you an example of a ride and where we put it. So this is sort of gives you a basis for the rest of the rankings.
Solidly middle of the road. Not amazing, not terrible.
Right. And there were some other surprising ones we put in here too in the middle, but we're not going to do all of that because we'd be here forever if we did. So let's start at the bottom. These are the 2 worst Disney World attractions according to our tier list. Now, if I remember, you read this tier list from left to right, and the far right is the worst.
Yeah, the closer to the letter you get, the higher up in ranking it is.
So these are our two worst Walt Disney World attractions. You want to do it, Zach?
Sure. So our second to last worst is the teacups at the Magic Kingdom, the Mad Tea Party.
Yeah, we've never been a fan of the spinning.
No. And our absolute worst ride in all of Walt Disney World is Magic Carpets with Aladdin.
Ugh.
Or Aladdin's Magic Carpets.
Yeah, Aladdin's Magic.
You know what I'm talking about.
Right.
Yep, it's that spinner ride that is in the middle of Adventureland in the hot, blazing sun with no shade and no fun, as far as I can tell.
And those annoying spitting camels.
Yeah.
So yeah, that gives you an idea of kind of where we're at, and to kind of also drive the fact home that these particular rides are the ones we dislike. And it's amazing because we love Dumbo, but Dumbo has a special place in your heart. This Magic Carpet thing does not. The other thing that was right next to it was the Triceratops twirl. Was that what it was?
Spin.
Yeah. Of course, that ride is now going to soon be gone, but that gives you an idea of the kind of rides we put at the bottom. So our absolute favorite attractions in Walt Disney World. You want to read these, hon?
Okay, so at the top of S tier, I have the honor of announcing that our second highest ranked ride is the Haunted Mansion.
Yay! Hands down, the best dark ride.
An all-season favorite. It's
Yep.
not just for Halloween. And we could go into all the reasons why we
Sure.
thought that was a top of S tier worthy attraction.
That's
but
for another
we'd be
show.
here all day. And our
That was for our 30-minute discussion in the car when we placed it there.
Right.
Yes, right. And our number one top of S tier, top of the top, best of the best attraction is Rise of the Resistance in Galaxy's Edge, Hollywood Studios.
I would say that that's no surprise.
So why don't we talk about one of our other tier lists that we've made?
I think we should go right to our most classic tier list. This is the one I think that started
This was our first.
This was our first Disney tier list, and once you hear what it is, you'll think it's silly, but we had more fun doing this list than any of the other ones we've done. And people thought we were crazy while we were in the parks because the tier list is Walt Disney World trash cans.
Classic.
Because as you know, as a fan of Disney, they theme everything in the area to match the area all the way down to the trash cans. So here we are, 3 full-grown adults running around Disney World taking pictures of trash cans.
And you cannot imagine the excitement that we shared as a group when we found a trash can that was different after thinking that we had found them all.
Right.
You thought we would have hit the lottery.
Yeah, it was like we go around the corner like, oh, wait a minute. We didn't see this trash can. But did somebody get a picture of this trash can? And to this day, when we go and see a trash can that we missed, we kick ourselves for it. All right, Zach, so you can lead us into this. Give us the bottom 2 trash cans on our trash can tier list.
Okay. So since we absolutely made this tier list like 3 years ago,
Right.
Unfortunately, I don't think I remember exactly where these trash cans were anymore.
Yes, I think that these 2 trash cans I think they're Epcot trash cans.
But regardless, they're just gray. There's
Right.
there's no differentiation that needs to happen here. Our bottom 3 trash cans on this list are all just plain gray trash cans that we found in different areas of the parks.
And I think it was Epcot, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, one of them has a recycle symbol. So we put the one with the recycle symbol slightly above the plain gray trash can that was all by itself.
And I believe we ranked the one with the blue recycling logo slightly higher than the one with the brown recycling logo.
We did.
Because it had more visual appeal.
Oh my gosh, we're insane. We forgot to give us our middle of the road. So what's our middle of the road trash can here? Can we tell where that one was from?
Yeah.
Oh, here it is, yeah.
Middle of the road trash can at the bottom of B tier was one of the trash cans in Toy Story Land.
That's right.
Colorful, sort of primary colors, looks a little bit like Lego bricks.
Yep.
Pretty, but nothing too special. And then the trash can at the top of C tier is what I would call sort of a standard Animal Kingdom trash can. Forest green color with the Tree of Life in purple. Right next to the Animal Kingdom Tree of Life trash can with a red Tree of Life. But we thought that the purple was a little more unusual, so we gave it the edge in the rankings.
We did. And I think it got to the top of C to beat the third place item just because it was a theme park icon that was on the trash can and not just like the logo of the resort or whatever. So the very, very top tier, there's only one trash can to rule them all.
Only one was worthy of S. These
Only
are trash
one.
cans after all.
That's right. Zach, what was our number one?
It was the Galaxy's Edge trash can.
I mean, it's primo trash can.
I mean, they didn't have to go as hard as they did on the theming to make it look like, yeah, this is a trash can that would exist in the world of Star Wars. But
Right.
they did it anyway.
They did. I think that I'm going to try to put a link to it or a picture of at least the trash can tier list in the show notes so people can have an idea of just how insane we actually are. I think we have plans for our next tier list on our next family trip. It's going to be a little more reasonable of a list than doing trash cans. It's going to be the counter service restaurants in Disney World. We're going to put those into tier groups. Did you have something else you wanted to say?
Well, as I was looking through this trash can tier list, it reminded me that we also coined a new term.
Oh, that's right.
For a certain type of trash can. It's the trash can you see most frequently throughout the Disney parks. It's a brown trash can that usually has a darker brown trim around it. And it's affectionately known to us as the peanut butter trash can.
That's right. And that was a hill that Zach was ready to die on at one point. He was adamant that trash can deserved to be higher.
You monsters put it at the bottom of D tier.
Well, okay. I feel...
Look at it.
Look at that beauty. But the problem was, it was another one of those plain cans, although it was colorful, and
it has a trim.
Boy, I think that this fight lives on to this day.
I think about it frequently.
Do you really? Does it still eat at you that your baby peanut butter trash can?
Does the peanut butter trash can still hurt?
No, I'm not kidding. I hate this meme. I hate this meme, but I'm going to use it. The peanut butter trash can is my Roman Empire.
Okay, I think with that, we're going to leave this discussion and end the family chat. But I want to ask, in the tier list of Mickey, Marvel, and More episodes, where would this episode rank in a tier list from S to F?
I'll give it a solid B tier.
All right, Zach?
It was kind of mid. I don't know. I'll give it a. I'll agree with Mom. I'll give it a B tier.
Mark, what do you think?
B.
I think that everything we put out is just a diamond. However, I understand that we've spent an inordinate amount of time talking about trash cans. So I would say, well, you guys said top of B.
We just said B.
B. I would say that probably bottom of B is where this episode belongs. Hopefully our listeners don't think the same thing. All right, guys. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see everybody next time.
How old is this milk?
Thanks so much for joining us for another super fun episode of Mickey, Marvel, and More. A big thank you goes out to Laura and Zach for joining us to talk about our Disney tier list obsession. You know, Who knew we would spend a big chunk of an episode talking about trash cans? Well, we did. We knew because we are crazy obsessed Disney fans. After listening to the show, be sure to check out the show notes with links to all the stories we talked about in this episode, as well as links to all of our socials. I hope to be able to find a way to post some of our Disney tier lists in the show notes, so our crazy can be on full display. And if you feel like you want to add to the conversation, or at the very least recommend a good therapist for us, click on the link and send us an email to Mickey Marvel and More, all one word, at gmail.com. If we read your email on the show, you will make it on our official Friend of the Show tier list. Cross your fingers, you're an S+. As always, if you enjoyed this episode, my name is Mark, and this has been Mickey Marvel and More. If you didn't, my name is Arthur Friedrichsen, and you've been listening to my hit podcast, Wall Paints and How They Dry. Next up is Bear Premium Plus number M290-5 English Custard Eggshell Enamel Low Odor Interior Paint and Primer. Let's listen. We'll see you next time.